This is the Dr. Berg Show. Live from the nation's capital, it's time to get healthy, lose weight, and feel great. Call now to speak with Dr. Berg at 866-561-4292. And now, Dr. Eric Berg.
Hey guys, I'm back. It's Friday morning. We're in Northern Virginia, and I'm here to take your calls. And today we have my lovely wife, Karen, that's actually going to be helping me with some of the questions on Facebook and YouTube, because we just have so many questions. So if you want to call in at 866-561-4292. We have a ton of calls already, so we're going to jump right in. We're going to take a question from Sophia from Virginia. Actually, it's right down the street. You had a question for high blood pressure. Go ahead, Sophia.
Actually, it's a question about high blood sugar levels in the morning.
Yeah.
Even though I am doing the intermittent fasting, I don't understand how it can be high in the morning, and sometimes it even decreases, like in the afternoon.
Yeah. Very good question. I did a video on this, so let me just answer that right now. If your blood sugar is high in the morning, what that means usually is the adrenal glands are involved. Here you are going and you're fasting all night long, right? You're actually fasting, you're not eating, and what's happening is your body should be tapping into the fat reserve. But if your blood sugar spikes without eating anything, usually the adrenal kicks in, and either cortisol or adrenaline will kick in there, and that'll release some sugar because your body hasn't adapted yet. So I would support the adrenal gland. That's probably the biggest thing you need to do, and that will enhance the capacity for the pancreas to start tapping into fat, or we should call it potential energy. We don't want to call it fat anymore. And then the other thing that you could do is try some apple cider vinegar before you go to bed in a glass of water, because that will really help the stabilization of blood sugars. But you're really in the transition phase, and it's not a bad thing. It just means that you're going to have to kind of keep adapting until you're able to get your body off the sugar and run your body on ketones. So just give it a little more time and you'll be fine. But I did do a video on that. Great question. Cynthia, you're from Ohio. You had a question about PCOS and adrenal body type. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm also diabetic, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and swelling in my ankles and feet. And I want to start from looking at, your videos and listen to previous calls. I'm thinking that intermittent fasting and the keto diet would pretty much take care of it, because, the insulin resistance seems to take care of a whole bunch of things. I just need to know what I need to do now, because I definitely need to get started.
Okay, great. So Cynthia, Cynthia had a great question related to keto and PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which basically is a situation where your ovaries are pumping out, or the body is pumping out too much androgen, that's a male hormone, and it's coming from either the ovary or the adrenal gland. It's probably the ovary, because there's little tiny cysts in there that are pumping out the wrong hormone. And when you have PCOS, you have facial hair, you have deeper voice, you lose your hair sometimes, alopecia, and you get more weight gain in the midsection and a bunch of other symptoms. But if you look that up, there's always this associated symptom that comes with it called insulin resistance, which in fact that's not true. It's actually the cause of PCOS. It's not one of the related symptoms, it's the cause of it. So what I would recommend is focus on correcting insulin resistance by doing keto and intermittent fasting. Insulin resistance will heal, and then the PCOS will also heal right after that, because we have a cause-effect relationship. But really good question. So, hey, Karen, do you have any interesting questions on Facebook or YouTube for us?
Well, good morning. And yes, actually, I have Sandy, who is asking about a rash. She has a rash and she wants to do something natural for it, and she just wants to know what you think.
Okay, so she's from Facebook, or is it from YouTube?
Facebook.
Okay, Sandy, let's talk about that. Of course, I wanted Karen to ask me all the easy questions, not the difficult ones, but that's fine. it's really a keto rash. And when you do ketosis and you get a rash, what's happening is the liver is processing a lot of fat. And when you actually burn fat, you release a lot of stuff inside the fat. And guess what? Guess where you store most of your toxins? In the fat cell. So as you release the fat, you may have a little bit of a detox reaction type thing. So the best thing to do for that is to make sure that you consume the vegetables at a very high amount, because that'll flush out any toxic waste coming out from the liver and the gallbladder that's kind of sitting there. So if you do this without a lot of vegetables, you may notice a lot of skin issues and things like that. The other thing that I would recommend is consume radishes. Radishes are high in sulfur. That cleanses the liver. It cleanses the gallbladder. Also, of course, the cruciferous vegetables. Those are good too. So to prevent rashes or any detox, if it's a skin-related problem, go with more vegetables. If it's other related symptoms when you're adapting, you want to just do the B vitamins and the potassium, okay? And that comes from the vegetable again. So, because your body needs a little bit more of that to adapt to fat burning. Okay, so I had another question. Actually, let's take it from a caller. Arlene, you're from Delaware. You had a question. Your husband is on blood pressure meds, and you can't take my recommendations. Go ahead.
Yes, we went to the health food store to get the stinging nettle root, and they said because he's on high blood pressure, they didn't suggest it. And also, you told me to take for myself grapefruit seed extract.
Yeah.
Yes, and for candida.
Yeah.
And they were saying, well, because I'm on high blood pressure medicine, I shouldn't take that. And also, I have like a quarter of my thyroid removed, and I also have like patches of thin hair. I'd use your hair product and the pills for hair and nails, and it didn't work. So I'm wondering, taking the right products from you, because I don't have a gallbladder, and also because I don't have a gallbladder, I don't digest as well. But I am on the gallbladder medicine. So what is your suggestions on it?
Okay, good. Good question. Well, if the health food said don't take it, so they must know the answer to that, because they're, no, I'm just kidding. So the health food store, I think they have to say that kind of legally, just to, so, someone doesn't, like have a problem and they're at fault if you're taking a remedy. But the point is that in this show, all the information that I say is just for research and for entertainment. It's not meant to diagnose anyone. These are remedies that I found that really can help support you. And stinging nettle root, for example, is a very, very natural thing that has no side effects by increasing or aggravating blood pressure. So when someone tells you this data, like, oh, don't take that, what you need to say is, oh, really? Who told you that? Where did you hear that? And see what they say. There won't be any answer. There's no references. They won't be able to tell you where they heard it from. They might say, well, I think I read it from some place. Oh, where? Well, I think it was from the National Enquirer, whatever, or Time Magazine, whatever. The point is that there's no source. So you always want to pull the string, because you get all these opinions from everyone and their brother, and so they're kind of like, they don't really know where they're coming from. So they just kind of make up stuff because whatever. So the point is that those are totally safe. Like, for example, grapefruit extract, it's wonderful as a proven track record. It does not worsen blood pressure at all. So again, just find out who's telling you that. Take it with a grain of salt, unless they have a lot of experience in that, those two things. Now, as far as you taking the gallbladder, the hair formula, you don't have a gallbladder. The only thing that I would make sure is I would probably, with you, focus on your stomach, because in order for the gallbladder to release bile and have that work, you need a very acid stomach. So I would make sure that you're doing something to acidify the stomach, like maybe digestive formula or some betaine hydrochloride or more apple cider vinegar. That enhances the function of the gallbladder. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing that you want to do, Arlene, is really start to plug in intermittent fasting. I can't emphasize this enough. that if someone doesn't have a gallbladder and they do intermittent fasting, it will greatly help you at least concentrate the bile that you have that's in the liver, so when you release it, it starts working better. If there is a gallbladder removed, chances are there's also was a past problem with the gallbladder and the liver. People that have either fatty liver, gallbladder problem, cirrhosis of the liver, have a problem absorbing nutrients in general. So that could be your problem as well. So you just want to keep doing what I'm recommending, intermittent fasting, ketosis, keep doing that for a period of time until your liver does better and better and better. And I think that a lot of problems that you have will just kind of go away because you really want to focus to the basics of that. All right, but good question. Hey, Kathy, you're from Philadelphia. You had a question about diabetics with high blood pressure and carbs. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
It's a pleasure speaking with you. Actually, I'm 58, postmenopausal.
Okay.
Been yo-yo dieting since I was 15. And my question is, what would be the right amount of carbs for me to consume per day to lose weight and again to become adapted, fat adapted?
Good question. So Kathy wants to know how many carbs does she need per day to lose weight? Well, you're already a diabetic. You have blood pressure. So you need a lot less carbs. So I would not go over 20 carbs a day. And I would try to keep the sugar grams to 0. Okay, you want to keep sugar grams to 0 and keep your overall carbs below 20. Now, some people even go below that, but don't worry about counting the vegetable carbohydrates. So we want high levels of vegetable and we want low other carbs. Like if it's going to be in a hummus or some type of other food, make sure those carbs do not exceed 20 grams per day. And I think you'll start losing weight that way and you'll be very, very healthy. All right, let's take a question. Do we have any interesting questions, Karen, over there from the Facebook?
Yes, there's another one here on Facebook that I hear a lot, and this is from Helen, and she has restless legs at night, and she wants to know what she can do about that.
Okay, let's answer that question. So restless leg syndrome can come usually from exercise. Usually it's a problem eliminating something called lactic acid. And lactic acid needs B vitamins, especially B1, to actually get rid of it. So if it's exercise related, and let's say you work out and you have restless legs, I would do a combination of more B1 nutritional yeast, and I would do omega-3 fatty acids. You can do either flax oil or fish oil. Okay, so it's omega-3 and B1 if it's after exercise. If it's a problem in general and you have restless legs, it's usually a problem with lactic acid in which you need more vitamin B1, which you can get from nutritional yeast. You can get it in a tablet, whatever, but that should take care of the restless legs like that. On a rare occasion, you just might need more minerals, and but people with restless legs usually have a problem because they have a history of doing too many carbs, they're running body on sugar, and they're not consuming enough vegetable. All right? So, good question though. Hey, we have another question from Pennsylvania. It's Sheena from Pennsylvania. You had a question about keto and lemon water.
Yes. My husband and I have been doing the keto diet for the past 6 weeks. We've seen amazing results. I've lost 15 pounds. He's actually lost 30.
Wow.
But one thing that I was reading, it was saying that fresh lemon juice, especially in excess, can kick you out of ketosis. So I was wondering what should be our ceiling for lemon per day.
This is a great question. Here's another example of what I was talking about. So I want to know who told you that? Where did you hear that?
I was looking online because I've been looking up all different types of keto recipes.
Yeah.
And I happened to find it. It was kind of like a bodybuilding site. Now, of course, I'm not trying to bodybuild, but just something that I happened to read.
Do you remember what site it was?
I want to say maybe ketomama.com.
Okay. All right. So good. So here's just another perfect example of when you do research on the net, you're going to find every single possible opinion on the planet. And that's why it's a sea of confusion. And you don't really know what's going on because you're going to get conflicting data here and there. So I always really make sure that the source that you accept data from is someone that really has credibility. And I'm not talking about a university site or a government site. I'm talking about someone that has personal experience getting results in that area. If someone's an expert, they have results in the area. I have the advantage of been in clinic for 29 years, so I've worked on over 40,000 people. So I have a lot of experience working with people over and over and over. And I'm going to tell you, the amount of sugar in lemon water is so low, you will never have to worry about it. In fact, if you don't consume lemon with keto, you may have higher levels of uric acid and oxalates. So that means that you could potentially get kidney stones. So no, you want to do a lot of lemon water, a lot of lemon when you do keto. And you have you have between 20 and 50 carbs that you can consume. So if you do the numbers on how many carbs are in lemon water, I mean, it's like so small. It's never going to be a problem. So don't worry about lemon water. What you have to worry about is the sugar in the lemon water called lemonade. So, I mean, so worry about that. But you can put liquid stevia and be totally fine. So let me take another call in Chicago. It's Letitia. You had a question about ketosis and pregnancy. Go ahead.
Yes, that's correct. Well, I'm in the process of, I'll be about to go into IVF treatment again. So hopefully from there, they're going to do the egg retrieval, and then they're, hopefully I'll be getting pregnant. I'm kind of curious on the adjustments. I'm pretty confident when I'm on my own, but when you're involving, the fertility treatments as well as possible pregnancy, I wanted to ask somebody, what kind of adjustments, if any, that I need to make. I understand during pregnancy I'm not going to be concerned so much about losing weight, but I want to also maintain. Mm-hmm. And right now, I'm going to do the egg retrieval right now, but I'm going to wait till I lose a little bit of weight before I do the transfer.
Got it.
So it might be like 3 or 4 months, but I want to optimize this time before I do the transfer, right, to lose as much weight as possible.
Good.
To give myself the best chance.
That
was my question. Hopefully you could give me some insight. I've been scouring the web, but there's so much information and everything's conflicting that it's really confusing, and I don't really want to take chances.
It's called information overload. Yeah, there's just too much information. But this is an awesome question. I love this question because it's something that I just basically did a video on recently. And there's the stuff that you're going to read on pregnancy and keto. It says it's going to create malformation in the baby's organs, okay? But if you look at the studies that they're using, they're doing it on mice, okay, not humans. And then if you look up the food, the meal that they're feeding the mice, it's with the protein, it's milk protein casein. They use Crisco for the fat, I'm not kidding, corn oil for the fat, which is GMO, soy oil. I mean, that's their ketogenic diet. So if you fed that to any person, they probably would have organ failure. So in fact, to help fertility, keto and intermittent fasting is the absolute best thing to do for your hormones because you're going to lower insulin. Insulin inhibits all the female sex hormones. And it doesn't make you fertile when you have high levels of insulin. So you're on the right track. So many women that actually fix insulin resistance end up getting, they become more fertile, all of a sudden they get pregnant, and so it's a really healthy thing to do. And a really healthy ketogenic diet that I'm recommending with all the vegetables is not a nutritional deficiency type diet. All it is, you're lowering the sugar, which actually blocks your ability to absorb nutrition. So as long as you're doing this healthy like I'm recommending, it's the best diet to do. The only thing I would tweak if you want to get pregnant is I would probably, once you are pregnant, go to maybe just keep 3 meals in. Don't try to do too much intermittent fasting. Just don't snack between the meals. Okay, so do 3 meals. And then but before that, I would do some intermittent fasting, and you're going to see that your fertility is much, much better. As far as nutrition goes, royal jelly is a really good thing to consume to increase your fertility, and definitely a lot of the fats. Like have more fat, like DHA, cod liver oil, all these things will help you. All right? Good question. Good. Do we have any other questions? Do we run out of questions yet over there on
Oh my gosh.
Facebook?
There are so many great questions coming in through social media. There's a really cool one, something we talked about earlier. Did the level of ketones reflect fat burning?
Okay, good. So this is another good question. Ketones are the byproduct of ketosis, which is fat burning. Now, when you become a adapted to burning fat over a period of time, and you're really in ketosis hardcore, you're going to be burning up these ketones more efficiently. You're going to burn up your fuel more efficiently, and the ketones will drop. So you can use a ketone stick to measure the ketones as a kind of one indicator, but better than that is just to measure the waist with a tape measure to make sure you're losing on your waist and see how you feel. So initially you might see more ketones because they're going out through the urine, but you want to be able to get to the point where your body is burning all these ketones as fuel, you're efficient, and they don't show up anymore, but you're still in ketosis. And I mean, it's, you know, we're going right into Halloween nowadays, and I'll tell you, it's really difficult for me to give children all this sugar. Last year, Karen, what did we give out? We gave like healthy treats or something, pencils, little toys.
Right.
And did we have some challenges with that with these kids?
I actually broke down and gave out the little Halloween pretzels, and a little kid threw it back in the bowl and walked away. I was like, I'm not gonna be toilet papered for this. I have to find a solution. It's tough out there.
I don't know why kids don't like apples anymore, or pencils. I mean, what's wrong with the pencil?
I agree.
School supplies.
I agree. I buy hats and glow sticks and.
These kids are addicted to sugar. So, yeah, we may be toilet paper this year. So
That's true.
It comes with the price of trying to get these kids healthy. So I have another question from Italy. Azad, you had a question about thyroid and cruciferous vegetables. Go ahead.
Good morning, Dr. Berg.
Good morning.
I'm Azad. I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism.
Okay.
So I had high levels of TSH and considerably low levels of T3 and T4. I've been on the ketogenic diet for 2 months, watching your videos. And I was a little bit worried about the cruciferous vegetables that I'm using. And also I've been taking levothyroxine, 50 milligrams every day. I'm trying to decreasing the amount of these medications, but I'm a little bit worried because I've read that it's not okay to when you start using it, you'll be addicted to it.
Yeah.
And another question I have, it's the same. It's my father. He has done a thyroidectomy. He has had a papillary carcinoma, papillary cancer. Yeah. And now I want to put him on the ketogenic diet. He has had metastasis, and he has been told to avoid cruciferous vegetables as well.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Good question.
trying to ask you. Thank you.
I have a question for you, though. Have you been diagnosed with Hashimoto's hypothyroidism?
Well, I had a low level of vitamin D, and I've been shown some sensitivity to gluten, so I stopped eating gluten, but I have never been diagnosed with any sort of autoimmune disease. And the last test I did for my thyroid, it was shown that I don't have any Hashimoto or any autoimmune disease. But
okay.
That's unclear for me myself as well.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
There was also mercury in one of the tests I did. It was radio spectrum test. It was mercury in my body, but it's for 2 years ago.
Okay, good. This is a great question. I think I want to take it. So I'm glad that you asked me a question that I can answer. So here's the thing. He has hypothyroidism. Most thyroid issues, again, this is my opinion, okay, just for information and for your entertainment, not to diagnose you, but I believe most thyroid conditions are secondary, not primary. You just don't end up with a thyroid problem. It's not a primary thing. It's secondary, either from high estrogen or liver damage or gallbladder problems, because it takes the gallbladder and the bile and the liver to convert from T4 to T3. Okay, so it's one of the two. Now, if it's autoimmune, it could be stress-related, and that could come from the adrenal. So apparently you don't have a Hashimoto's, it's a low thyroid. But the fact that you have high levels of mercury gives me a little clue here, because mercury, there's one thing that will really help detoxify mercury more than anything else, and that's selenium. Selenium is a trace mineral. And selenium is sometimes hard to get. So, I mean, it's in Brazil nuts, it's in clams, it's in shrimp, it's in grass-fed beef, it's in mushrooms. But you might want to take it as a supplement, because selenium helps build the enzymes to help convert T4 to T3. So yes, iodine is important too, but selenium is also important. So I would take selenium, and I would also take concentrated sea kelp, so you can really maximize the benefit. Now, I would also want to get a history before you had hypothyroidism. What happened just before you got it? Was there an estrogen situation? You know, was there a gallbladder liver situation? And then focus on that. Now, as far as the reason I like cruciferous is that it tends to detoxify excessive estrogen. But if there's not an estrogen trigger, then you probably don't need it. But the benefit of taking cruciferous in general is very, very high for the liver as well. So what I would recommend is maybe don't restrict cruciferous, consume of it, but just have more sea kelp and more iodine to compensate for that, because too much cruciferous can inhibit iodine. So if you just take more sea kelp, then you get the benefits of cruciferous and the benefits of iodine, which basically promote thyroid function, okay? And iodine also will lower estrogen too. So that's my 2 cents. I don't like to restrict it too much, and I think you know, you can try that and see if it helps you. All right? Good question. Do we have any questions left? Do we have anyone asking any questions?
Yes, we have a really good question from Melinda, who is a diabetic, and she's really confused about skipping breakfast. She's told never skip a meal, you have to eat 3 times. What does she do?
Melinda, this is another good question too. Boy, so far everyone had some really good questions. No one had some crappy questions, so I appreciate that. Melinda, if you're a diabetic, and this is what's been ingrained in even myself, as in my first book, I'm recommending you got to have the breakfast. It's the most important thing. Keep your blood sugars. Well, think about it. I mean, eating in general increases insulin. Diabetes is a condition where you have too much insulin, unless it's type 1. Okay, so think about this. Why would you want to add more insulin to the situation? Doesn't make sense. You want to, but you'll get conflicting data because you're reading the sites that promote 6 meals a day or whatever, and that's basically the American Diabetes Association. They recommend frequent meals and snacks between meals, but you know, you just got to look at who's sponsoring them, the food companies. So, and make up your own mind. I'm not saying that it's slightly biased, but you can make up your own mind on that. But the point is that if you do intermittent fasting, you decrease the need for insulin, and you actually help blood sugars more than anything. But you have to do it gradual. So I have a little course on my site that I'm going to recommend that you go to, and it's a Keto Course. And anyone on Facebook right now, if you're on Facebook, you go on Messenger and you just type in keto, okay, and you can get the course. If you're on YouTube, I put a link down below in the description. You can click that and then sign up for the Messenger on Facebook, and I have a little keto course. It's a free little mini course. It's awesome. It'll walk you through step by step what to eat, what to avoid, because my whole thing is educating people. So definitely check that out. If you're on Periscope or Twitter, you might have to just go to one of these other platforms because I don't have a link there. And but have this cool little course. But the point is that you want to do intermittent fasting because, and this is one last thing, and then I'll shut up about this, but it's important. The function, the purpose of insulin is to protect you against toxic sugar because it lowers sugar out of the blood. You know, insulin, your body's trying to tell you, don't eat the sugar, okay? It's too much. And so the other thing is if you eat a meal, it will trigger insulin. So we want to have the least amount of meals possible to actually correct insulin resistance, which is always the case in diabetes type 2. All right. Now I'll actually get back to the questions here. Now, Mary, you had a question. You're from Florida. You had a question about diabetes as well. Go ahead.
Yes. I have diabetes type 2, and I also have IBS. And my doctor always told me that I had to stay at my 45 grams of carbohydrate.
Yeah.
And I tried the keto diet, but I was not losing any weight.
Yeah.
At all.
Good question. So I'm going to answer this, okay? The doctor told you to keep your carbs at what, 45 grams a day?
Per meal.
Per meal. Per meal, 45.
Yeah.
Now, why, do you have any idea why the doctor's recommending 45 grams of sugar per meal or carbohydrate per meal?
Because I'm on an insulin pump.
Because you're on an insulin pump. Wow. Well, see, the purpose
I'm very resistant.
Okay, so here's the thing. The purpose of insulin is to lower sugar. Then the doctor is recommending sugar or carbs to raise sugar to require more insulin. That just doesn't make sense to me. So I think for you, you should go to take that keto course, because that will give you the information then to come up to your doctor and say, Doc, listen, why are you recommending so many carbohydrates? Because that's going to increase the need for insulin and cause me to take more insulin. Why would we want to do that? Don't we want to decrease the need for insulin? Because insulin, too much insulin is very, very dangerous, okay? So the goal with diabetes type 1 is to decrease the need for insulin to a normal level as much as possible, so you don't have to take too much. And carbs trigger insulin. So to me, that does not make logical sense at all. You want to keep your carbs down as low as possible. Now, the diet for a type 1 diabetic versus a type 2 is the exact same thing. Okay, it's no difference. I actually just released a video on that. But thank you for your question. I hope that helped. Karen, do we have any other questions coming in here?
There's a person here. Let me find it again. I'm sorry I lost your name, but she's saying she always ate 1 to 2 meals a day, but she's still having a lot of sagging, a lot of cellulite, and she doesn't know what she's doing wrong.
Okay, so this is another good question. If you have like loose collagen, you have sagging skin, and you have wrinkles or whatever, any type of loss of collagen, that's protein. That's a protein problem. And there's a couple things you can do to tighten up that skin. The absolute most important thing is intermittent fasting. And number 2 is ketosis. Because what happens, if you have, just picture this big ball, okay, this cell, and you have insulin resistance. So insulin's not working. Insulin is like the key to open up the cell to allow protein to go in the cell. So people that have insulin resistance can't absorb proteins and collagen. So now if you do intermittent fasting and heal insulin resistance, you allow the protein to go in the cell, you get more nice skin tone, you have less sagging. But sometimes you're going to have to need a combination of exercise to actually physically work that, those muscles and tissue, and intermittent fasting over a longer period of time. When you have atrophy of the skin, atrophy of the muscles mainly, and then of the skin, that is a condition that's not a little thing. It's a big thing. It's a chronic condition, much like osteoporosis. And I think people don't realize that the level of effort that you have to put out is a lot more than they think. You might have to do this for a year or longer to be able to start seeing some major changes, because after maybe many years of sedentary lifestyle, whatever, or eating sugar, it takes a while to come back. Just like the liver healing, it takes like 3 years. So I would just give it more time. Keep doing intermittent fasting. I just released a video on 1 meal a day. That might be your solution, and make sure it's nutrient dense. Add the exercise in there, and no cheating. Because here's the thing, there's 2 things that I find when people are not getting results. I make sure, are they doing it correctly? Are they really doing it correctly, or are they cheating a little bit? Because I find out they're sort of doing it, but they're not really doing it, okay? And the second thing is doing it correctly and not doing it halfway, like giving it enough time and to be able to impinge and to really work. So if you're doing it correctly, which basically means doing the correct eating and giving it enough time, it's going to be successful. Almost 100% of the time. All right, good question. All right, so now we have Monty from the UK. You had a question about the best supplements for high blood pressure. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I've had hypertension for a number of years, diagnosed 10 years ago. But about a year and a half ago, I had a pain in my left foot by my knuckle and my big toe, and I was misdiagnosed with having gout. So they started to give me all this treatment for gout and steroid injections. And what happened is, even though I was on blood pressure medication, my blood pressure went through the ceiling, and they started giving me more and more blood pressure medications to bring it under control. So what happened was I started to experience, like if I was walking on a ship at sea, I was off balance and experiencing a lot of side effects, including sight, a lot of these things. And I saw one of your videos with the nerve dysfunction, And almost everything that you mentioned on there with the sleep, the sight, the sensitivity, applied to what I'm experiencing. And I've been experiencing that for a year now. And so I've taken myself off the blood pressure medication, even though I'm still got high blood pressure. And I'm sort of trying to put the potassium into my system and the other things. And I just wanted to know amounts. I know that I saw some of your videos, but I was just wondering what I might need to start thinking about nutrient-wise.
Good question. Very good question. I have a question for you first. The medication that they put you on, was it a diuretic?
I was on diuretic, I was on beta blockers,
Yeah.
I was on ACE inhibitors, I was on all of those.
Okay.
I was on about 4 or 5 meds.
Okay. All right. So Monty, let me answer that question. Just so you know, the diuretics have a side effect of increasing uric acid crystals and creating gout. That's probably aggravated things pretty bad for you, and then just too many side effects. Blood pressure, and this is my opinion, usually comes from high levels of insulin. It could also come from calcium that's built up in the arteries. So you definitely need a combination of the K2 and D3, okay? K2 and D3. K2 helps lower blood pressure by removing calcium from the artery wall, okay? And it takes a while to do that. The other no-brainer that will help not just your blood sugar issues, but blood pressure as well, is potassium. Get electrolyte that is higher in potassium. Get one that's 1,000 milligrams. We need 4,700 milligrams of potassium. So if someone has high blood pressure, you may even want to go higher than that and consume the 7 to 10 cups of vegetables. On top of that, have an electrolyte mix that has high potassium, and start doing, maybe another 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of potassium, because potassium is a physiological tranquilizer to calm the nervous system. But I think over time, if you keep in the keto and intermittent fasting together, eventually you'll heal the insulin resistance, which is causing the high insulin, and your blood pressure will do much, much better. But potassium and vitamin K2 are my 2 recommendations, and electrolyte blends that have the magnesium will also help you. Good question. So Karen, do we have any interesting questions coming in, or?
Yes, here's another one. Laura from Maryland, and she says she's really working on the diet. She's not snacking in between. Once a week she has some red wine, and she's totally fine with that. She doesn't think that should interfere, but she wants to know why she's not losing any weight.
Okay, good. So Lori from Maryland. So
Laura.
Here's Laura from Maryland. So I'm going to just answer that question. Wine, alcohol, unfortunately is not just a sugar effect, but it kind of slams the liver, and it can really set you back, especially if you're doing a lot of it on the weekends, right? Because what happens is you might think, well, it's a couple glasses of wine, it won't be a problem, but half a glass of wine could set you back 48 to 72 hours and knock you right out of ketosis. Now, if you're doing it Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, probably it's going to knock you out for the whole week. And when I evaluate people and they're not getting results, I look for things like that, and I always find things like that. It's the little stuff, but that they think, but it's really big things, and it's little bit of juice, a little bit of fruit, alcohol. Alcohol, unfortunately, you have to recover from that, and it could take a while. And so get off that, get the junk out of the trunk. I mean, the alcohol out of your liver, and stick to the program for a period of time. And I think people don't realize that they have to give it enough time to let it work, and they think in their mind that much time is like a week or two. But in my mind, I'm thinking, give it some months to really kick in, because it didn't get like that overnight. So spend the time, be disciplined, and you're going to get the results. Hey, Brooke, you're from Tennessee. You had a question about baking soda for acid reflux.
Yes, my friend said that she actually took it and that it stopped her acid reflux completely. Like, I guess she takes it when she eats or whatever. But I was just wondering what that does for acid reflux. Does it increase the acid or does it decrease it? Because
Good.
you want to increase it, right?
This is a great question, Brooke. Very good question. Boy, everyone is having great questions today. Very good. So baking soda alkalizes the stomach, so it's going to get rid of acid. The problem is the next time you eat, it's going to be worse. Normally the pH of your stomach is between 1 and 3. Okay, 1 and 3. Do you know what that means? That's like battery acid. That's a tremendous amount of acid in your stomach. So when your stomach normally, that should be really, really acid, starts to rise in pH and become more alkaline, what happens is you will lose the ability to close the valve on the top of the stomach. So the acid is now going to splash up. That's called GERD. So you're going to get acid reflux, and you're going to get probably even heartburn because you're going to have a weak stomach acid. So yes, it's true that taking an alkalizing agent, calcium carbonate, baking soda, will help you temporarily. It will worsen in the long run. What you should be doing is taking apple cider vinegar or betaine hydrochloride and taking that with each meal over time to build up your acids so it actually stays healthy over time and it gets better over time. Of course, I didn't know that when I had the heartburn when I was in my 20s, about 3 years ago. And basically, I was taking Rolaids, and I kept getting worse and worse and worse. I'd feel better, and it'd get worse. So it's definitely a situation. So now we have a question from Albert from Washington, I guess Washington State. You had a question about intermittent fasting and the best protein source, right?
Yes, I actually want to know how much should we eat from meat if we're only eating once a day? Should we stick with 3 to 6 ounces?
Good question.
Or should we eat more than that we're just eating once a day?
Good. Now, are you from the, where is Bellingham? Is that over the mountains on the dry side, or is it, where is that?
Actually, it's 90 miles north of Seattle, about 10 miles from the Canadian border. So I'm, very extreme Pacific Northwest.
Wow. I love that area. I practiced in Linwood, Washington, right when I graduated. The problem is it rained every day. I couldn't take it, so then I moved down to the Mojave Desert for a while to dry off. But that's a beautiful area. I love that area of the country when it's not raining. But here's the question. As far as the frequency of meals, when you go to 1 meal a day, you're going to have to increase that protein amount. It's no longer going to be 3 to 6 ounces because you want to not go down with your protein. You probably want to go 8 to even 9 ounces of protein, maybe even 10. So yeah, that is the challenge with some people doing 1 meal. You have to make up the protein amounts and the nutrition amounts. So you have to have larger, huge feasting salads and a lot of other things too. But good question. Diana, you had a question. You're from Florida, and it was a question on keto and intermittent fasting, and then you just plateaued, I guess, right?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Okay. So how often are you eating now?
1 meal a day, usually somewhere between 12:30 or 2:30. I will eat like broccoli and cooked in butter with red peppers on it, about a cup of that, and probably 1 ground beef patty, maybe like, I don't know, I'm trying to make it bigger, like maybe 6, 8 ounces. And I'm stuffed all day. I feel like great. I don't feel hungry anymore at all. I just eat because of the nutrition. And I need to get some of your wheatgrass, I know, and some electrolytes because I've been listening to your things. It's the only 2 things because I'm having sleeping problems. I'm having, and I can fall asleep easy, but I wake up after 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm up for 2 or 3 hours again, and then I fall back to sleep, and it's just really, and then severe muscle cramps, like in my low legs. So I know that's a potassium thing, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering why I plateaued. I'm not losing any weight. I'm just stuck at 168.
Okay. All right, good question. So this happens a lot, and one of the things in my book that I released, which you might want to get a copy of, it's called Dr. Berg's New Body Type Guide. I added in there a lot of additional data because, here you have this basic keto intermittent fasting plan, right? Well, you don't really just have everyone that kind of fits that plan. You have people that have a lot of other issues: thyroid, liver, adrenal, and a lot of sleeping issues, digestive issues. So in that book, I talk about getting the different parts of the body healthy as well. So with you, I really think your sleep is the biggest problem. The fact that you get cramps means that you're potassium and mineral deficient. So yes, I would get those electrolytes because those are enhancements to make things work better. That's when you want to bring in nutrition. That's when you want to start tweaking things so you could sleep like a baby. You may benefit greatly from the sleep aid as well, because if you're not sleeping, your cortisol is going to be higher, and that could be why you're plateauing. In fact, I pretty much know that's why you're plateauing. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would recommend. And then, hey, listen, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, please share this information with other people. I love helping people. I know you do too. Let's get this word out. And if you're from Facebook, come to YouTube, subscribe, because I have a little different content on YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, go to Facebook. I have a little different content there. So go ahead and come to these channels. And if you go to my site, drberg.com, very soon, it was supposed to be released this week, but next week for sure, I'm going to be releasing some amazing recipes if you subscribe to my channel. And I'll let you know if you're on either channel too. But because what I'm finding is people want to know what to eat. So I'm going to actually give a recipe a day, and it's going to be awesome. You'll see the picture, you'll get the recipe, and that way you can kind of get the carbs right and the proteins and the fats. So check that out. Do we have any new questions, Karen?
Yes, we have Bob from Minnesota, and he is wanting to get on this program. He said he doesn't think he needs to lose weight all over. He just carries weight right in his belly, a big pot. And he wants to know if he should do something different.
What's his name again?
Bob.
Bob. So Bob, this is it sounds like you have the liver body type. That's the protruded belly, and it's kind of like not a beer belly, but a kind of a pot belly approach. And if you're doing the intermittent fasting and the ketosis, which is exactly what you want to do, there's another situation that could be occurring, especially if you're skinny in the legs and the upper body and you got just this gut. It could be that it's not all fat. It could be fluid, and there's a condition called ascites. Ascites is a fluid-filled sac in the abdomen because the liver is not functioning and the liver is leaking fluid into the abdomen. If that's the case, you need to probably supplement your diet with certain things that will support the liver. Definitely a lot of vegetables, a lot of cruciferous things that will support the liver, then will help drain out some of that fluid. But in addition, make sure that you keep the foundation of ketosis and intermittent fasting and the type that I recommend, because it's really, really healthy, and it's been proven to work on near 100% of the people that I've seen. And you can check out the site. I mean, the amount of success stories we're getting flooding in from people is just off the charts, and so you might want to consider that. Okay, so Beverly, you're from Minnesota. You had a question about intermittent fasting and wheatgrass.
Good morning, Dr. Berg.
Good morning.
I am wondering if in the morning when I get up, if I drink a mixture of wheatgrass juice, nutritional yeast, and lemon juice, does that break my fast, or can I have that in the morning and then wait until later on in the day to eat? And then my second question is, if I have a 4-hour window of eating, instead of having 2 meals, is it okay, like if I have a snack in between, as long as it's within that 4-hour window? So say if I wanted to have more vegetables or something, but keep it within that 4-hour window.
Good question. Okay, so now, it's totally, when you're in the morning, if you do the wheatgrass and you do the nutritional yeast and lemon water, it's not going to break your fast, okay? It's not going to break your fast. The amount of carbs in that is so low, and you're doing this concentrated nutrition, so it's not going to be a problem at all. You can do that. I do even a little kale shake with 2 scoops of the wheatgrass juice in the morning. Boy, I just feel so good within a couple hours after doing that. And I swear my cognitive function is better as well. I just feel clear in the head. Now, if you are at a 4-hour window, that means the time between the meals. So you have a lunch and you wait 4 hours and you eat and you have this window. That's kind of your eating window. And yes, you could have something in there. I'm not concerned with that. You can have vegetables, you can eat within that window. I wouldn't worry about that as too much, and especially since it's 4 hours. That's a pretty nice, tight amount of time to eat. So yeah, you can do that. So go ahead and do that. Other people, what they do is they'll have 1 meal a day, And they have like this long social meal. It's like 2 hours of eating and socializing and talking to people. I think that's a great idea. In fact, I think that's where they do it in Europe. But I don't know for a fact. But I like that. I think it's a great way to, spread it out. In fact, I think what I want to do this Thanksgiving is do that. Like we have this meal that's extended out for maybe several hours, and that's the only meal that I consume, and it's quite large. But of course, I need to talk everyone else into it as well. So I'll have to check it out. Nathan, you're from Tennessee. You had a question about fiber supplements. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question about juicing and fiber. I know that when I juice, I'm not getting all of that vegetable fiber, but juicing is a lot easier on my system. And I was wondering if psyllium fiber capsules, if that's a good supplement to go along with juice. Is that something completely different? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. Yeah, you can do the psyllium, but you know what? I think about this. Your gut needs fiber. Your microbes in your gut need fiber to live off of. Psyllium is kind of a low-level fiber. I don't even recommend it. I recommend doing the actual fiber in the vegetables itself. So that's just what I would recommend. You're juicing, that's fine, that's good.'re getting the nutrition. Make sure you don't put any fruit in it. But maybe you maybe you blend it, or if you don't like that, then just get your fiber from the salads that you're going to add on top of everything. But you need to do the fiber. And I just did a video on grain fiber versus vegetable fiber. And I do not recommend grain fiber or even the psyllium seed. It's just not a high quality fiber. But good question. So do we have another question, Karen, on one of the platforms here?
Yes, we do. This is on Facebook, and Gina says that she had her thyroid removed. She's taking the wheatgrass every day, but she's still having a lot of hair loss, and she wants to know what she can do.
Okay, so she has her thyroid removed or her gallbladder?
Her thyroid.
Okay, so Gina, you need to get another thyroid and put it back in there, get it sewed back in there, because we need the thyroid. But now the fact that you don't have a thyroid tells me that it's gonna affect a lot of things chemistry-wise. There's like over 100 intracellular enzymes that are going to have difficulty working. So in this situation, you will have to enhance your diet with a lot more trace minerals. I would do a plant-based trace mineral compound in a liquid, and I would do double or triple the dosage, just because it's harder to drive the nutrition in here into your body. But the other thing that you want to do with intermittent fasting and ketosis, is do that long enough for your cells to start absorbing more nutrients. So it's just not a matter of taking more nutrients, it's a matter of getting your cells to absorb it. The other thing is to make sure your gut is really healthy with good probiotics, and you'll start pulling more nutrition in. But I think your problem right now is you need trace minerals, plant-based trace minerals, just because you don't have the thyroid. Okay? Hey, Rebecca, you had a question from Michigan. Go ahead. Rebecca, you.
Hi, sorry.
Hi.
I do. So I've been doing keto for just about a month now, and I have to say that the thought of intermittent fasting is absolutely terrifying to me, and I'm hoping that that will get better as I go on. I'm doing 12 hours now, but I don't feel like with my history of, bad dieting and starvation and all of those things from my past that I'm really ready to go beyond 12 hours yet. But my problem, the thing that's concerning me the most is I've been having night sweats, and I feel like I might have a hormonal imbalance, and I'm wondering, and also, so I've been doing it just about a month, and my period just started, and it's the worst period that I've had in years, and I'm wondering if the keto diet will regulate my hormones automatically, or if I need to do supplements. And another unrelated question, is there such thing as taking apple cider vinegar too often or having too much in your system?
Got it. Okay. Let me just answer it. I think this is a pretty simple answer to this question. Yes, doing keto and intermittent fasting is amazing for hormonal health, because you have, let's just take, there's 6 of the most common hormones out there. Those are all fat burners, but they do a lot of other things. Insulin is the most dominant hormone of all the hormones. In the presence of too much insulin, it knocks out all these other hormones. It just nullifies them. So with intermittent fasting and ketosis, you're actually correcting insulin big time. And all of a sudden, all these hormones start to kick in. Growth hormone, thyroid hormone, everything starts working again. So that should be your goal. Yes, there's a ton of supplements you can take, but the foundation is really getting in here. But no, I do understand that intermittent fasting is a bit scary when you start to do this because you're like not eating. It's like, oh my God, I'm not used to that. So what you do is you just do it really gradual. Okay, start with 3 meals a day and just don't have any snacks. And just do that until you're comfortable. And start gradually pushing your breakfast further and further towards lunch until finally it drops out. And then 2 meals a day. It's not that bad. You can do that for a long period of time. It's not scary, but you have to do it so your body feels good on it. So it's not hard. So there's no craving. The problem that messes people up is social events and activities and holidays and birthdays, and so you just have to bite the bullet and persist through that. But no, I think you just need to do that and stick with it, and it's going to work faster than you think. But there's a million things to take in the meantime if you want to handle hot flashes. Just type up one of my videos, pull it up, and watch it on hot flashes. I have a lot of videos on that. Good question now. All right, do we have any more questions from anyone?
There's a million questions, but here's an interesting one. Sharon wants to know if keto diet can help her blood pressure. She doesn't need to lose any weight. She's just trying to get some balance on her blood pressure.
Yeah, and again, this is just for your entertainment, not meant to diagnose you or just to help you research. But you have two things. You have ketosis. Ketosis is really lowering your carbs. That's what it's about. And then that also increases the function of insulin. So you decrease the need for insulin. So, and insulin is behind blood pressure, okay? So that's going to help you. But what's going to help you more is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is the most powerful tool to drop insulin because you're not eating as frequent. And you're going to find it's a little more difficult to do that, but the combination of intermittent fasting and keto together for blood pressure, it's a no-brainer. Make sure you enhance your minerals, potassium, magnesium from the diet, like I recommend. And again, I'm doing a keto course. For those of you on Facebook, if you go to Messenger and type under Keto Course, I will send you a mini course on there. And if you're on YouTube, go down and click the link in the description, take the Keto Course. It's a free course, and I just give you the basics. It's really, really quick as well. And for those of you that don't already have seen the quiz or the little course, press share so we can spread this out because there's a lot of people that need your help, and I can't do it alone. I need your help. So spread the word if you like helping people. If you don't like helping people, don't spread the word. Hey, Sherry, you're from Michigan. You had a question on ketosis and cholesterol. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi, doctor. Thank
Hi.
you for taking my call.
Sure.
I've been I'm 62. I've been very active all my life, and I've always had a high HDL cholesterol, and my ratio's always been very low, and that stayed consistent. However, the last time, probably about 3 months ago, that I had my cholesterol measured, the total cholesterol was 239, and the LDL was 150. And of course, my doctor immediately says, you're going to die if I don't put you on statins.
Yeah.
I refuse statins. And I'm just wondering if the keto and intermittent fasting will help lower that LDL.
Okay, so I have a question. Was there anything that you started just before you noticed these changes in your blood values? Is there anything, did you start the keto and intermittent fasting right before that? Is that what happened, or was there any other change?
I was playing, quote unquote, with paleo and keto because I could tell that too many carbs were making me sick and I didn't feel good. So I was playing with it, but I can't say I was on it real seriously.
Okay, good question. The first thing I want to tell you is your body makes cholesterol. Okay, your body makes 3,000 milligrams. That's the equivalent of eating 14 eggs a day, equivalent of eating a pound of butter a day, equivalent of eating 300 strips of bacon. So cholesterol is needed to help heal your body. So when it's high, we always want to find out why. In your case, if you're lowering carbs, doing keto, intermittent fasting, and your cholesterol starts going up, what that means and I have some videos that you need to search out on LDL on my YouTube channel, that means you're releasing fat from the cells. Well, guess what makes up fat in your cells? Triglycerides and cholesterol. So guess what? They have to come out. So it's going to come out. You are going to have an increase. It's not a bad thing. It has to just come out. Cholesterol is not bad. It's when your arteries have little lesions and it's clogging up, and that's bad, and that's a whole other situation. But the cholesterol itself, it's not a bad thing. And lots of people, their cholesterol goes up as they're going through keto because they're releasing the fat. Give it more time and it starts coming down. But you just need to be educated more on that. It's not a problem. If you stick on the keto and the intermittent fasting together, it's the healthiest thing for your heart, for your cholesterol levels, and for healing the body, because let's take the reverse of that and doing a lot of carbs. Guess what that causes? Lesions in the arteries, heart disease. Diabetics tend to have problems with heart disease. Diabetics have peripheral neuropathy. Diabetics have problems with the kidney because of high insulin. So why don't we just reverse this whole thing, cut out the insulin, cut out the carbs and the sugar, keep the vegetables in, and watch how your body reverses it, okay? So I think I would just go to the channel and check it out and learn more about LDL. But good question. So now we have from Toronto, Anthea. You had a question of how to stop sugar cravings and a wheatgrass question.
Yes, hello. I did your quiz, and it seems very apparent to me that I have the adrenal fatigue. I don't sleep at all at night. I have the hump at the back of my neck. I'm very overweight. I'm 5'2", and I'm 240 pounds. And I've also been diagnosed with AS, ankylosing spondylitis. So I have a lot of inflammation in my back, and now it's in my neck and my shoulder. I'm on disability from work now with this. My problem is that I really want to do keto, but I crave sugar day and night. As soon as I wake up, I need a latte or sugar or tea, and I usually have six sugars in my tea. And then I crave breads and pastas and ice cream. I usually have a whole tub of ice cream every single night. So I just don't know how to stop.
Okay.
How to stop this craving.
So you have a whole tub of ice cream a night. How much ice cream is that? Is that a pint or a half?
Like the Haagen-Dazs, like the small Haagen-Dazs, which I don't know, probably has almost 100 grams of sugar in there.
100 grams of sugar.
I
and you do put a couple packs of sugar in your tea, right?
Six. And then I have bread and I have other things during the day.
Okay.
Croissants and buns and stuff.
And buns. Okay. I think I can help you. So just hear me out. Okay. So if anyone that's watching is checked out, just check back in right now, because this is the most important advice I'm going to give you. You have someone that's a perfect example of, a typical American, which is just eating what everyone else is eating and they're craving, and they're in this blood sugar trap. Your insulin is high, and because it's high because it's trying to get the sugar out. It's trying to get the sugar out. You need to do that Keto Course. You need to do it right when we get off the phone. We need to get the sugar out of your diet and replace it with healthy fat. If you watch, Karen and I have these videos on healthy keto bombs and healthy low-carb treats. You should watch those videos, start creating these cookies and these little great tasting things so you don't deprive yourself. So you have in your freezer, you have these cookies and you can have those, but you need to start like immediately, like within an hour. Don't start on Monday, and do 3 meals a day. Okay, no snacks. That's step 1. And then you need to do intermittent fasting eventually over time, but just start with 3 meals a day. The fact that you have AS, ankylosing spondylitis, which is a serious autoimmune, where all your joints are completely fusing right now, which is very scary what's going to happen if we don't correct this now, because your whole body is one big ball of inflammation. And by the way, doing this will lower insulin, which will knock out a lot of this inflammation and create a situation over time where you're in what's called autophagy, which is the ability of your body to rid all this crap from the cells and clean up the cells and clean up the microbes and the fungus and the mold. It's going to be a cleaning, a wonderful cleaning for your cells. I think that is going to be the thing that's going to save your life. So I would bite the bullet, do it, and the cravings within a month will go away, and then it's going to be easier and easier to do. But in the meantime, you must substitute with healthy carbs. It's actually, if you get my book, I have these great recipes. So you're probably going to need that and read that, study it, memorize the book, and then get back to us. Thanks for calling. Hey, Sid had a question from New Jersey. And Sid, you're the last caller. You had a question, ketosis possible with carbs at night. What were you asking there?
Hi, Dr. Berg. How are you doing?
Hi, great.
My question was, I started intermittent fasting recently, where I'm eating from 11 to 7 during the day. And during the day, I'm following a ketogenic diet, low carb. But what I'll do is I will exercise around 4 or 5 o'clock, and then for dinner, I will have, maybe 50 grams of carbs. But those are coming from lentils, sweet potatoes, maybe a piece of fruit. So I'm getting, maybe a little sugar, maybe 20 grams of sugar. So my question was, over time, if I follow this, can I still go into short periods of ketosis on a daily basis every day? Maybe.
Good question. Are you trying to lose weight?
Not really. It's mostly for, the mental clarity and the anti-aging effects.
Got it.
But I was just wondering, if the ketosis, if I still maybe hit ketosis for maybe 2 or 3 hours a day, that'll keep me, focused and mentally active.
How old are you?
I am 26.
26?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a good question. For those of you that are not trying to lose weight, just want to do it for mental clarity and health, if you're doing intermittent fasting, can you add like a sweet potato in there or some beans or some other type things? Some people can, some people can't. It's something you're going to have to experiment on, and I've kind of mixed reviews. If you don't have an insulin problem, okay, you'll probably be successful and you could do ketosis for several hours a day and feel fine. But so many people do have an insulin problem that they can't get away with those type of foods, those starches. So I would just experiment with it. I would do it like I recommend, and then do it like you're doing and see what you feel like, and then you choose what you want to do, because those amount of carbs, those type of starches could bump you out of ketosis for a lot longer than you think, and you could not even get into ketosis because the type of carb is a bit too high glycemic. All right? Hey guys, thank you so much for wonderful questions. Thank you, Karen, for answering these questions. I know we had a lot more. Stay tuned next week. We'll be back. So have a great weekend.